Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portrais, and I'm joined, as always, by Sean Keenan.
Heidi's pretty sure that Finn Jones don't know a lick of karate.
I am darn straight that Heidi is right. I think Heidi is the most on point Heidi's ever been. Now, Bruce Leslie, of course, the prickly pear himself, is he's doing some stuff with the family. So he's on the road, cannot join us this week. But fear not, baby birds, we got you. Now, while we may not be as smart as that guy, we're going to do our best to fake our way through it and, maybe entertain you at the same time as well. So I think really at the end of the day, we can say that Bruce really won out on this because we'll be reviewing the last half of Iron Fist on Netflix.
It's not good.
I think I've got different things to say about it.
Oh, what a surprise! You're gonna zag while everyone is zigging. Hey everybody, kids gather round. Get ready.
I'm gonna say it's more of a zip than a zag because it's not like okay. I don't know that I'll be heaping the most helping of praises on it, but I went on a roller coaster with this show. And we'll get to talking about that. But what we do like to talk about on this show is the people that take the time out of their lovely day to join us down at the iTunes and leave us a 5-star review, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Humdinger.
And this one, we wanted to do it last week, but my stupid thing didn't load up properly, so...
My stupid thing. Your brain?
My brain, and I thought I took a screen because I don't want to look it up in the iTunes thing because it takes too long to load.
Yeah,
so usually,
it does take a long time.
Usually I'll just take a screen grab and stuff, but apparently I thought I did, but didn't. So I was like, "What?
Buddy, it's all right."
Humming. So I look, like fun. But hey, we're gonna do it up here at the top of the show, just as the good Lord intended.
Everybody makes mistakes. It's all right.
And I do more than often. This one is entitled. This is not a mistake, however. This is a humdinger is what this is. It's 5 stars. It's entitled "Crazy Awesome" by Becker_Jeff 23.
Very good.
I enjoyed the show, Becker. Were you a fan of Becker?
I never watched a single episode of it.
It's not terrible. Is
Ted Danson on it?
Oh, of course Ted Danson is in it.
Then I bet it's pretty good.
It's not. It's good. And how I complain about everything?
I do.
It's pretty much Ted Danson plays Adam Portrais in that show.
Oh no! So it's if you had a serialized version of your life,
yeah,
would you choose Ted Danson to play you?
Oh no.
Who would you choose to play Adam Portrais in the Adam Portrais story?
Well, back in the day, fat Christian Finnegan looks a lot like Adam Portrais.
That's pretty good. Although now Christian Finnegan is very svelte. He's a svelte man.
He looks sick.
His lady put him right into shape.
Yeah, I need one of those. Maybe that's what I'm missing to get into shape. There are ladies around that just go, no, that's not the case. All right, this one's entitled "Crazy Awesome." We're getting into some fun stuff. Here's what he writes. Found this from Heroes and Villains podcast. You guys are fantastic. Still playing catch up on all your previous episodes, but each is better than the one before. So thank you guys for all you do. That is Becker_Jeff 23. Mr. Becker, thank you for dropping down to the iTunes there, giving us a 5-star review, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Humdinger!
And if you'd like to do that too, man, that'd be really awesome. That just helps this show get out to more and more people. And, it makes the world go round. That's what I says.
He does. He says it all the time. I can't shut him up about it.
He keeps on doing it. He keeps on saying it. It makes the world go round.
That's what makes the world go round. Oh, geez. Just order.
I have a large fry. Wait a minute. Now, Sean, we have an interesting email up as well. So let's do it. Let's go to the mailbag.
Mail's here.
I'll say we've gotten so much use out of that between two podcasts. I'm glad we didn't brand it with anything. Therefore, we could just recycle it for everything that we do. I love it so much.
And I know what a smile it brings to you. So just keep using it.
It's so good. This one now we've had emails back and forth with this gentleman a couple of times, but most of them have not made the air.
Okay.
But this one is at least a little bit better, that we can have this conversation, and it's good, and I think it bears mentioning on this program. Okay. And honestly, it's good that Bruce isn't here. Now, while you got a lady friend, you're not, tied down in the official sense, if you will, the legal sense, if you will. So I think you and I can talk about this subject freely.
All right.
This one's from Matt. Hey, guys. Love the podcast. I do apologize for some of my more drunken, abrasive reviews. At least he's aware of it. But I think that it's mostly due to I love Doctor Strange, and you guys obviously don't, LOL. So he had a real big problem with us in the animated Doctor Strange thing, which I think y'all turned around pretty much on live action. So, be that.
No, I didn't. I wasn't a huge fan.
Oh, then you're the jackass then.
You yelled directly at me, Matt.
That's true. Well, sometimes he deserves it. All right, but as much as I agree with almost everything else you guys have to say, I have a friendly grievance.
Uh-oh.
I think you're gonna take umbrage with this one. Eva Mendes is not hot. All right.
Okay. So look. It's why they make so many different flavors of Pop-Tarts now.
This is true. I like the cinnamon one. Yeah, those are good. She is okay. Now here's where he gets a little bit more in depth on his distaste for Eva Mendes.
Okay.
She is a horsemouth non-talent and doesn't need to be in anything more than a Sears catalog underwear spread.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good slam, Matt.
That's a good diss.
Job by you.
That's a good diss. I like that. It's like if you're going to smash somebody, that's a good way to do it. That being said, you guys are great, and I hope you do the Thomas Jane Punisher, Kick-Ass 2, or Thor 2 in the near future. With that, the Punisher series debuting in November, as well as Thor Ragnarok. Keep up the good work, fellas. Just try to develop better taste in women. Matt from Florida. Matt, thanks for writing in, and thanks for only being partially abrasive to us this time. We appreciate that, buddy.
It's not. I take no umbrage to that at all. I am attracted to her. What can I tell you? He's not. That's again. Who cares?
Yeah, that's true. Look, and I say this, man. If it's good enough for the guys, why can't it be good enough for everybody else?
Exactly.
And really, though, when you think about it, look, I like Ryan Gosling. I think he's a handsome man. But doesn't that seem like way out of his area?
No, that dude can pull in anything he wants.
I don't know. It just seems weird to me. Maybe I just see more of his Mickey Mouse Club, and I'm just like, you don't deserve that. Like I'm over here, some sort of prize pig in this conversation.
Look, man, I have heard women coo about Ryan Gosling. I mean, that is a known thing.
That's true.
I'm surprised. Has he ever made People Magazine's Sexiest Man Alive?
I feel like he's had to, right?
He had to have at some point here.
So that counts for something, I guess.
He also does the really smart thing where I don't know how intelligent of a human being he is, so he just keeps his mouth shut, like Brad Pitt does. You never see Brad Pitt like, oh, hey, and this and this and that and this. Like, you'll never hear him. You never hear him talk.
He's not one of those white screened, just like, here's what you need to know about world. And it's just like, you know what? Maybe I'm just going to shut up and be a good actor.
Nobody needs to know what Ryan Gosling thinks about Trump.
Yeah, it's like, who cares? It's just like, I just want you to be awesome in movies. Which I'm hard pressed to sit there and find a bad guy's flick, man.
I love the Good Guys. I think that's a great movie.
That was one of the better ones in the last couple of years. All right. So now I know Bruce isn't here, and that saddens us all. Believe you me, it saddens us all. But we don't come here unprepared. Well, at least the other two don't.
We don't.
Shut up. Just keep the illusion alive. Why don't you? I don't want to let them in on our process.
Adam, I love our back and forth.
I think it's you and I just know each other for as long as we have. Just it works.
It absolutely is.
It works. But Mr. Keenan has come up with a comic book connection for us this week. What do you got for us?
The character Colleen Wing first appeared in the November 1974 issue of Marvel Premiere number 19 and was created by Doug Monk. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Sure.
Doug Monk and Larry Hama. She's descended from a family of samurai and is a Japanese martial artist who avenged her grandfather's death with the help of Iron Fist. After arriving in New York City, Wing befriended former police officer Misty Knight, with whom she started a private investigation agency. The two would later form the crime-fighting duo Daughters of the Dragon. As private investigators, Wing and Knight frequently work with heroes for hire. Now, Doug Monk is a name casual comic readers like myself don't hear very often, but he's the creator of characters Black Mask, Moon Knight, Deathlock, and Bane. Oh. And now there's a pretty girl who actually knows martial arts attached to the character of Colleen Wing. So it's pretty safe to say that his character here is going to become a lot more recognizable, especially if she shows up in a show that's well made. Adam, I really miss Bruce.
Well, don't we all, though? Don't we? It's like, and here's the thing, but I think this is a good thing, because what it does is it also gives people, I think they know what he does. I think they appreciate it. I want them to appreciate it even more, though. That's how we do. Every once in a while, I'll do a Stallone connection. They'll be like, "It was all right," but that other guy, he's a man, So, of course, there's going to be an episode where I'm not there, and everyone's going to be like, "Thank Christ." Whew.
That's not going to happen. You've got that voice, my friend.
That's
that
true.
voice.
That's true. And no life. All right, so now, for those of you that aren't aware, we did review the first 6 episodes of Iron Fist a couple episodes back. Why don't you dig on through the HMP archives and find those? You can also find it for all the other Marvel Netflix shows we have as well. So if you like one of those, is also your Jessica Jones, your Luke Cages, your 2 seasons of Daredevil, go back and check those out as well, man. But on this episode, we're going to be reviewing episodes 7 through 13 of the first season of Iron Fist. There are going to be spoilers throughout this entire thing, so if you have not seen it, you don't want to be spoilt, don't listen. But you've already downloaded, so we've already got that download, so thanks. But tell your friends. Anyways,
so we ended up at episode 6, and one of the things that I remember about that episode, our episode, is that we weren't sure if Finn Jones was the right casting for Iron Fist. And after watching these 12 or these other 7, it's not a mystery anymore. Like he's not the perfect person to play that character, and I get it because he's got the Game of Thrones prestige behind him. Mm-hmm. He's just poorly cast, right? But as I was thinking about it, I was like, you know what? He's not a bad actor, and he kind of sort of looks a little bit like he's drawn in the comic book. And there are a lot worse people you could cast as Iron Fist. And just as I was watching the episodes, here's my list of people who I think would be worse as Iron Fist. All right, here we go. Tell me if you agree.
All right.
Joey Lawrence.
Yeah, no. Mm.
The actress who played Precious in the movie Precious, based on the novel Push by Sapphire.
Gabrielle Sidibe, they would have got a little credit for, unwhitewashing, but still no.
All right.
The high kicks would be tough.
Mario Lopez from Saved by the Bell.
Now, he is built, but while he hasn't aged a day, he is in his 50s, I think. So I don't know that could have worked. But no, I'm gonna go a hard pass on that. He's too dimply.
Okay. I agree. David Spade.
Well, very similar in style. Maybe a little bit more flat, but no, you're right. Okay, Finn Jones still better. You're still winning, Finn.
He'd be way more snarky than Finn Jones, and he does have the blonde hair, which seems to be very, very important to Marvel when it comes to casting Iron Fist.
Yeah, so you're gonna kick me now? Okay, I don't have a David Spade. I tried. That's
look. You have the ironic detachment, and that's the most important part.
Here's you. I want to kick and be Mr. Karate Man. This is me. Bye bye.
There you go.
And then he Iron Fists him in the face. I think that would work. Well, okay. Finn Jones still wins a little bit by there.
All right. The guy who played the banjo on Hee Haw.
Royce. I used to watch Hee Haw as a kid all the time. Crap. Kills me that I can't remember his name.
I couldn't remember his name. That's why I said it the way I said it.
That works. You're right. He's probably dead, I think.
Okay. I only have 3 more. Here we go.
Okay.
Bruce Leslie.
he's a Scottish shaman, so it's kind of a little bit, but you know, I have seen his high kick. Not as good as Finn Jones, even though Finn Jones is.
You have seen his high kick?
Oh.
In what capacity?
Listen, when you're walking through the mean streets of Charlotte and things go down, you got to be ready. And there's no person better to have by your side than Mr. Bruce Leslie in that accord.
Man, he is a knockabout guy for sure. Okay, here's the last two. The kid from those Encyclopedia Britannica commercials from the 90s.
Oh, a bigger pair of Reeboks could not be found, I don't think. You know what? It's just like, what are you, like a 22-year-old Andy Rooney? Get out of here.
That's exactly what it felt like at the time. and then finally, and this might be a dated reference, not that the kid from Encyclopedia Britannica commercials in the 90s is dated, but this one's super dated. Jim J. Bullock.
Ooh. Now that's an interesting choice. Not one
as
that I
Iron Fist.
Not one. See, as bad as you guys think that some of this casting might have been, could have been worse.
All of that is way worse casting.
Could have been a lot worse. But here's my kind of we'll kind of get into a couple of specifics that we thought were kind of big points and stuff. But overall, I think my biggest thing with this was that it honestly takes, I think, the entire series to really get through, is that his character was kind of crummy on account, I guess it feels like they wrote him that way.
The writing is definitely bad on this show. And it's the, I think, and I really do think this, I think from the second half of Luke Cage till the end of Iron Fist here, I think that they use their good writers for the Defenders show. At least I'm hoping that's what they did, because for the last now, because it's 13 episodes of Iron Fist, there's been 19 episodes of Netflix Marvel Universe that have been okay, but not great.
Yeah.
And so now here we are, because the next thing up is Defenders, yes?
Mm-hmm.
So Defenders is next. If that is a fail also, do we start thinking about this entire universe, the Netflix universe, kind of the same way we do about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or, to go to a different universe, the CW shows? Yeah.
That's a good question, because I think especially with the Defenders thing, it's going to be quite the balancing act, quite the juggling act to get everything together and to get it to work right. Because one thing that they don't do, even all the way up until really the end of this one, while they always kind of plant a little seeds of a little bit of, hey, here's like a slight little reference to some of the other series and stuff. These characters, the main ones, don't really make appearances, save for like, a quick Luke Cage, a quick Jessica Jones, right? In the other series, mind you.
Well, we did get the nice Jessica Jones reference in, I can't remember, episode 8 maybe of Iron Fist.
Yeah, like I said, they drop a couple of hints and stuff, but they stay out of it for the most part. And so you would have, part of me thought in my brain, I was like, oh, well, they'll be like, maybe they'll plant like a really good seed going, hey, here's where the Defenders is going to go from here, or just kind of like wrap us up to the point where we're just like, oh snap, I can't wait for this Defenders to drop, and they don't do it, not at all.
Which I think is a huge mistake.
I think when by the time that you're building this universe and you've gotten to this point, I think you have to leave that breadcrumb there for everybody to go, ooh, this is what's next on the plate.
Although I don't remember what the lead up to, our very last thing we saw before the first Avengers movie happened. What was the last thing we saw? We saw what? I can't remember. It's Iron Man. Is it Iron Man 2 or is it Thor that was before Avengers?
Oh, darn it.
That's an unfair question, because
I don't know.
The person who would know that is not here today.
Yeah, there's 15 of those movies. I'm like, sometimes even I'm a little sketchy on the orders, and I'm like, I don't. But yeah.
But I don't. But basically, to make my point here, I don't remember there being a massive push for like, dun dun dun, the Avengers.
Yeah, but at least I'll say this: at least with those, they left with like your post-credit sequences and stuff. They usually left you with they let a trail of breadcrumbs, if you will, to the next.
You know what? It's Captain America: The First Avenger.
That's right.
That's the last thing, and it is a nice drop because it's him punching that bag, and you see him like knock the heavy bag off of its moorings, and Nick Fury walks in and he goes, hey, let's try to save the world or something like that.
Yeah.
Like that was a really nice drop, actually.
So
now that I think about it.
So now that they're letting people know what's up and getting them in there and everything, but we don't really do that with the show. And I understand why they do it, but at the same time, I think especially by this point, you have to let people in on the gag, if you will.
Yeah.
But that being said, the show kind of it goes on like kind of a circle with me. Like the first like 3 or 4 episodes, I was like, okay, I see what they're doing.
Yeah,
I enjoy. Right around episodes 5 to 6, and maybe really even into 7, I'm like, okay, we're languishing a little bit here. I think in the last like 4 episodes, 3 to 4, really 4 episodes, it picks up quite a bit because I think the show really decides what it kind of wants to be. And I think you were touching on this last time, is that perhaps this should have been shorter. Had this been like 8 episodes and they took a lot of the junky junk stuff out, I think this really could have been, really, really great to just get rid of all the fat, because there's a good amount of fat in this story. But I think once they get to those last 4 episodes and kind of the show itself takes almost a twist. I'm always going to call him Boromir because that's just who he is. When Dead Dad comes back, and he really he gets killed there. What, like episode, was it 6 or 7? I forget.
It's 7 because he kills Ward kills him in 7, and then it's the part I don't remember is whether he comes back immediately at the end of that episode or if it starts in episode 8.
He starts. It starts in the episode where all of a sudden you have this large overhead shot there, and then the face comes out and he kind of crawls out of the muck there and everything.
Yeah,
that was really cool, and that's something that I was highly unexpected for me at that point. And where that character kind of goes is what really, when we find out essentially he's going to be our real big bad. So but one of the things that I really liked about the Ward character, about his son, is that the son character is vastly more interesting than the father. Having been picked on by his dad and made him a bit of a monster, and then when he kills his dad, what happens next? So if they would, the far more interesting choice is to make Ward Meacham the big bad instead of the father. It looks like the father's going to be the big bad, and then you kill him off and you make the son the actual big bad guy, especially someone who has such a history with Danny Rand in the first place. When you see him picking on him when he's a kid, right,
that's 1,000 times more interesting to me.
True. Now, that's not bad. I mean, I would definitely take that, but I think the way that they went, because to me at the same time too, and they kind of touch on it a little bit towards the end, where they're just like, oh, kind of I guess they're just grasping at straws here, trying to figure out why he's acting different. But they just go, oh, it's almost like every time he comes back, like a piece of his soul is kind of gone. Because right. I loved when he came back, because we don't really know what's going on. It's like, is this actually him? Is it somebody who thinks that they're him? Do they just have his memories? Does he know what's kind of going on? I thought that was really interesting, and I like seeing somebody try to figure out, and I love how the character has these just rapid changes of all of a sudden. I mean, like, he goes to killing his assistant, and then 5 seconds later, it's just like, oh no, this was, I can't believe I did this. This was horrible. And, or pouring the scotch, and he's just like, hey, we're having a good time. And then just really going off the edge real fast and, smashing the glasses and everything. I loved how I wish they would have probably played a little bit more into it, of just what's going on in the head of that character.
Well, one of the things, and don't forget when Harold Meacham kills his assistant, he kills his assistant because his assistant didn't want any ice cream,
which is awesome.
it's so over the top crazy and great. I mean, it's great, and that actor, say what you will about him, he does crazy really great, and it's a different kind of crazy than the kind that comic book fans are used to. It's not like the Joker kind of crazy. It's something different, and that's part of the problem with a lot of superhero-based property is that when somebody hears crazy, they immediately think, "Oh, I'll go be the Joker."
Yeah.
Like even Jim Carrey in that terrible Batman movie he's in, he has a great performance, but it's clearly based a little bit on the Joker character.
Right.
And specifically Tommy Lee Jones is clearly stealing from Jack Nicholson in Batman. And so I do like his performance in this. But to reiterate, I think that making Ward the big bad guy would have been incredibly fun. And also the thing that we talk about a lot on the show is that it would be a little bit of the Xavier and Magneto dynamic, where like he's not all bad, but he's a bad guy. You know what I mean? And that just makes for shades of gray, and which makes for far more interesting characters instead of just this, like bile spitting insane guy. And here is one of my problems with what they've done in this show, Adam, is that because now that they've set it up, that the hand can bring people back to life, I believe that's all set up for Elektra, so that when Elektra comes back, she's going to be a little bit crazy, because she's been brought back the same way that Harold was brought back. And to me, that is so offensive, but it is exactly what they did. That's exactly why Ward kills Harold in the first place, is so that later, and I think it's for Defenders probably, Elektra's in Defenders, that you're going to see almost the same thing happen with her.
That's not bad. Yeah, you're right. It is interesting. I think the more I think about it, I think you're right. The Ward would have been more of an interesting thing, because you're right. He has that kind of good to where there is a lot of things that he does that you're just like, oh, well, that's straight bad. And like, there's other things that he does where it's like, I see where he's going with this. He seems to be playing, chess and not checkers.
Right. Exactly. And he was smart about it too. And he was completely getting wailed on by his dad, which makes him bad in the first place. And he loves his sister, and he loves his family, and he loves his family's company. Like that all makes sense to me. What doesn't make sense is when the dad who just got killed pops up in the swamp and it is all crazy and then kills his assistant because he refused some ice cream. Which, don't get me wrong, that's all great and that's fun, and that's something that this show was sorely lacking. But it's just a more interesting. It's more interesting if you have Danny be like Jason Bourne. It's more interesting if Ward is the bad guy.
Yeah. Now, what? So this kid got killed over vanilla ice cream. What ice cream flavor would you get killed over?
Would I get killed over?
Yeah.
Oh, please, cracker. It's pistachio.
Pistachio's very underrated. Very underrated pistachio.
Not in this house, fella.
I think if you go to your normal folks, they're just like, the greens, nuts, and I don't know, really. You're wrong, people. That's good stuff.
It is. It's also the best pudding flavor, hands down.
You know what I found that's a horrible pudding flavor recently? This is fun for the audience. Cheesecake.
Really?
Cheesecake pudding tastes like protein powder.
Oh, that is not good.
It's not, protein powder doesn't taste great to begin with, and this just tastes like vanilla protein powder. I'm like, this is garbage. Who would buy this? Who made the mistake of purchasing this garbage? Wasn't me.
I'm surprised. Did you buy it for yourself, the pudding? Were
no.
You know what? I feel like pudding.
It's one of those that's like, oh, well, what's in the back of the cupboard here? Hey, look at this. When was this bought? Oh, it just takes 2 cups of milk. All right, we'll have some pudding. And then it's like, oh, this was a mistake.
I hear you, fella. I've been there before. That's how I found out that refried beans in the can with chicken mixed together. Pretty great. Yeah, pretty great.
That's a good old US of A right there. So I actually wrote a couple of notes for this. I know that's going to shock you.
It is shocking.
But I knew Bruce wasn't going to be here, so I knew I had to step up my game, to be quite frank. One of the notes that I wrote down, because somebody at some point asked Danny, hey, why don't you just turn on your hand light there? Which reminded me, why did Neil Diamond do a song for this series is beyond me, man. You know, turn on your headlight. You remember that song from BT?
I'm going to see him next month.
Honestly, like my parents saw Neil Diamond back in the day. They said it's one of the best things they've ever seen. They just go, the man is just amazing in concert.
He's a real performer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind seeing. And they said they saw him in the Round and everything too, which was like, you know,
what?
Pretty cool.
The Round.
The Round, baby.
That's pretty good.
One thing, so let's talk about some of the things that, like, I was trying to give as much leeway with this as possible, the first 6 episodes, thinking maybe they saved a lot of it towards the end, and there's a bit of it kind of, there's sporadic good, sporadic bad, but it's mostly bad. Let's talk about the fighting in this thing.
Oh, it's so bad, and it's specifically because I wrote notes as well, but you know what? I almost always write notes.
Shut up.
So episode 8, they go to China.
Mm-hmm.
They find Gao's really, really shoddily defended stronghold.
It is like there's like 2 dudes.
There's 2 guys, and one of them is the drunk guy, which that was great. The drunk guy is great, although you have to make that guy really interesting because Danny is just not.
Here's the problem that I have with that. I'll stop you there. That I found terrible.
Why?
Because look, here's the thing. If you're gonna do the drunken fight stuff, you got to bring it. Because here's the thing, man. It has been done, and it has been done amazingly well.
Sure.
And for you to not at least perform at a 7, it made me so sad. It made me sad because it was choreographed bad. The guy doing the fighting was fair at best. But, you know, when you've got... And by the way, people, for any of you that think Legend of the Drunken Master is like the one, you're wrong. It's just regular Drunken Master. It's the Yin Wu Ping, people. Come on, let's get ourselves straight here. Let's not pretend that the sequel is better than the original, because you're wrong.
Is that the one? Is the sequel the one where he ends up mentally disabled by the end?
I forget. It's been. I think there's a train in it.
I think it is.
It's not good. It's not good. But the one where, you know, I mean, the original one is the best one. But you know, but it was weak sauce to me. It just I felt like I was like, oh snap, we're gonna get a drunken fight here. He didn't even really have much of a drunken style at all. It's like, if you're gonna lean on that kind of, you know, martial arts trope and everything, lean on it, son. Lean on it.
Look who he's fighting with. His fighting partner. He literally looks like he's in Dolomite, like the fight scenes from Dolomite.
Yeah.
Because Finn Jones doesn't know anything about martial arts. Like, clearly doesn't know anything about them. So of course the choreography with the crazy drunken master guy, that guy is not going to be as great because your dancing is only going to be limited to your partner.
This is very true.
And it's so bad. And then you have the flip of that where Colleen Wing is fighting her lady, and that fight is awesome. So not only do you see a really good fight, but they keep cutting back to Finn Jones, you know, as Iron Fist, and it just looks awful. Yeah.
Now, fun Dolomite fact: the fighting choreography with it was done by the Chuck Norris School of Karate. That's an absolute true thing. I know my Dolomite people. I do. I really do. But what I did like, I did like the fact the wing fight with the other chick and everything. I like the differences that were subtle. You know, she had a katana. The other girl had, you know, the more traditional Chinese blade and everything. I like little tiny touches like that like don't need to be there but are.
Right.
It's like actually having the proper weapon to the proper person makes a lot of sense and kind of made me smile. They're like, oh, well, at least they thought well enough to do that.
Right. And do you have more for fights? Do you have more notes on the fights?
I wrote, I don't remember what this. Oh, basically that Danny goes to Fight Club.
Yeah. Yes, he does.
It's essentially another. There's at least like 2 or 3 different Fight Club type things in this entire series.
Yes, there are, and that last one looked an awful lot like a Bloodsport ripoff for sure.
Nothing can be as good / bad as Bloodsport, people. Come on. That movie is so greatly bad. It's just fantastic.
It is where when Van Damme gets blinded. Oh, I defy you to show me a greater look of anguish on someone's face.
But here's the thing: he's replicated that through like every movie post that movie, where there's some point where he's just like,
it's so good
in every flick post that movie.
So good,
awesome.
So as bad as the fighting is in this movie, whenever Finn Jones is fighting, there is something that is actually worse than the fighting scenes in this movie, and that is in this TV show, and that is the sex scene. In episode 7, there's the sex scene, and it's the least sexy sex scene a show has ever had. Like, two people have had, like, I gotta go the prequel Star Wars movies for like less chemistry with two people on screen. It's so bad that I literally thought to myself, are these two people, is he gay and she a lesbian? Yeah. Like I couldn't figure it out while you're watching it. It is so unhot.
Yeah.
It's so weird. And like, I know they're trying to make it like sexy where like the camera shows up under the sheets and everything. It's just weird. It's shot weird, but I know the reason why it was shot weird is because the chemistry is bad. It is an awful sex scene in this movie.
Yeah,
TV show.
Though, to be frank, think about this whole like the whole Netflix thing. Have we ever seen superheroes get it on as much as we've seen in this whole Netflix series?
No, not even close.
Man, oh man, superheroes be getting it on.
The Luke Cage stuff. Luke Cage was getting laid left and right in that show.
It's like, but again, I think it's a tough. I think you're right. The chemistry's not there, and you got a tough road to hoe going up against, the crazy scene in Jessica Jones where they're breaking beds and stuff. I mean,
so good.
You got a lot to live up to, son, and like this, and I don't know. It just wasn't. You're right. It just wasn't there. You don't. It's wildly unsexy.
It's just very bad.
Yeah.
I got another note here, which is here's another example of very bad writing. Is that Gao's assassins, they have the poison tip weapons, and her own assassins are killed with their weapons with the poison, which tells Danny that Gao was responsible for killing my dad and the pilots on that plane,
right.
Umpteen years ago. But here is how the show is poorly written, is that so Colleen gets nicked with one of those poison weapons. And the way you get out of it is that, you have the Iron Fist. Well, guy who's never actually had the Iron Fist or any Iron Fist training goes, well, you can use the Iron Fist to heal her because, we are a very poorly written comic book property. So just use the Iron Fist to heal her. Yeah,
I thought it was strange that, like, A, he's got that power, but I can write that off. But B, you're correct in as much as it's like, how do you know this? And, like, they get through, like, showing us an old film reel, from way back in the 40s or whatever.
Which is awesome, and I wish there was a lot more of that.
Yeah. Now, did you see there was actually a color photograph of that scene floating around the internet?
I have not seen it.
It looked good. So you had it looked like you had the traditional like Iron Fist mask and everything, surrounded by all the kind of dudes and stuff. It looked dope, and you're just like, where was that at, man?
Yeah, where's that one?
Where was that at, dog? That was good. We need more of that. And here's the thing. And I appreciate what they're kind of doing and stuff. And we've gotten more and more there, especially with like Daredevil. We went the entire season with Daredevil where he just went in the traditional kind of Frank Miller black outfit and everything. But more and more as this show goes on, as this entire Netflix series goes on, we're getting more and more into the comic book world, Yes. We didn't wait until season 2 before he could start, flipping around with the Billy Club and, swinging and doing all that jazz. But by the time that we get there, we've all kind of warmed up to the idea of, hey, while this is very realistic, it's all very much in the comic book world as well. And I think they really should have kind of kept going with that. They do a little bit in this series, but I think they needed to do more. Embrace the comic bookiness of it all. Let them go with the mask and everything. Let them kind of get into it, man. And there are several spots in here where it would be absolutely warranted for him to put on a mask, and they never do it. And it's a shame that they don't sit there and capitalize on that and give people what they want. And I read a story that said, hey, it might be an even longer time until we get to see a mask. And I'm just like, this is not the way to do it. You're so deep into this, kind of universe right now. We're able to accept that and with wide open arms, man. We're saying we get this real world that you're living in, but if you want to splash some comic book on us, don't feel afraid to do that. We're willing to accept it at this point.
Or at least, you're absolutely right, but or at least ease people into it if you're worried about it, and have them wear like a yellow and green Adidas tracksuit, and then oh, you know what? I made you this costume. Here is your costume. Now, my big question is, with the picture you have in your head, Adam, does he have the little yellow booties, or does he have boots?
He could just have. I mean, he could have, like, you remember. You probably will because you're a shoe guy. You remember the yellow Asics that the bride wore in Kill Bill?
Who are you asking? Of course I remember them. They're awesome.
Yeah, I think something like that.
Yes, those would be awesome. So, totally agree. Yeah. Although they'd have to be Adidas because, I'm me.
Of course.
Yeah.
We have to make an exception, but something of that nature. I think would be perfectly
I think
fine.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
But honestly, if it was like kind of like that Bruce Lee Game of Death, but was more green and with a splash of yellow,
and you're done. Yeah. But I think one of the problems with that is that I don't know how Finn Jones will look in that. I mean, Finn Jones would probably look like the guy who played Spider-Man in the 1977 Spider-Man movie, which is great.
Listen, it is what it is, but we could have done well to just dip our toe in the water. That's all I'm saying.
Look, man, I totally agree with you. It's like your Marvel comics. You guys took big risks. You made a Guardians of the Galaxy movie that's like everyone's favorite movie of all time. Yeah. Like, you could give him a mask.
We got a talking tree and a raccoon, people, and everyone's cool with it.
Yeah,
you can give a cat a mask. It's a-okay. But like even the slight little glimpses that you see in that little 40s reel and everything, and from what I've seen in the picture, you look at it and like it looks a little rough. It looks a little kind of real worldish, if you will. It works, dude. And it's just like, just have the guts, man. Just have the guts to step up to the bar. You've done so well so far. Don't wuss out and really just, take the foot off the gas. That's a mistake.
Agreed. I totally agree with you.
Let's see. What else do I got here? Now, I will say this. For all the kind of things that this show kind of lacks and stuff, the music is great.
Yes.
The music in this is really, really good. Super kind of synthy, almost kind of, what's just kind of like Atticus Ross and what's his face from Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails and stuff. That kind of thing that he's been doing for David Fincher for a couple flicks. Mm-hmm. I love it. I think it sounds really, really good. And when that hits out on vinyl, I'll probably get it because I dig it.
Wow, you think this will come out on vinyl?
Well, the others have.
All of them?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. I thought that was just Luke Cage that did that.
No, they brought out just recently a Jessica Jones and a Daredevil as well. Wow,
do you have those?
I don't have those yet. I will get them eventually, though.
All right.
But they put them all out on Mondo. But
I see.
Stuff.
Okay.
But luckily those don't end up like the prints and stuff, because the prints go in like 2 seconds. The records and stuff they keep on for a while. So that's the good part. But I would definitely purchase those because and the Luke Cage soundtrack was fantastic as well. So I think that's something that they've really done well with all these things is have good music to go with it. And I wonder what kind of style or maybe a mixture thereof that we'll get in the Defenders. So let's see, boy, how many hallway fights did they attempt in this thing?
This is one of the things where after Defenders, if they're still doing hallway fights, they're allowed hallway fights in Defenders because all 4 of these characters just fight in hallways all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But after Defenders, we better not see a single other hallway fight ever again in Marvel Netflix universe.
Yes.
We better not.
To quote internet memes, it's time to stop.
Yes. It's now the blue light into the sky gag.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. Let's get rid of this trope. You know, Defenders can use it because they've done it with all the other shows, but it's time to end this.
Yeah, and this one was obviously, it seemed like either, well, I don't want to say they've run out of ideas because it's just like all the fights in this, except for say for a couple of the wing fights, those are fine. But again, I think she's more of a martial artist to begin with, and I think that's why they can get away with it.
Yes.
The fights are just so lacking. It's just like there's so many times where it's just like, okay, when's the light going to go out? Boom, there goes the light. Of course, because we want to keep this all in shadow because we don't know what the heck we're doing.
Because our guy doesn't know karate.
We're just trying to make it look, oh yeah, it's dark. Why did those floodlights when they're down and all the dudes are doing, why do the floodlights keep panning around like it's, Hollywood Boulevard or something? Why
because that's what the DP wants.
Just point at the people that are there. You know exactly where they are. Quit acting like you're. Where are we? Where are they at? Where are they at? They're in the section where all the people are standing in a group. You idiot.
And here is one of my problems with this show, and I kind of just figured it out actually while talking it out with you, Adam, is that Iron Fist is by far the most powerful of all of these characters in the Netflix universe, right? So he should be a little scary, like just a little bit, where everyone's like, "Oh my God, that's Iron Fist!" Like we better walk away from him. There is not an ounce of that in this character, and that's not really Finn Jones's fault. That's the writers and that's the directors, and like, hey, this guy should be a little bit scary, and they haven't done any of it.
I think you're right. I think that really falls on the writers and stuff. I can't blame Finn Jones as much of this because, honestly, when I picture what I hope to be his relationship with Luke Cage, I kind of smile. I think it might be good if they play it right. You know what I mean?
Definitely could be.
But I think you're right in that matter. So let's take, for example, one of the kind of final episodes there where he goes and does the fist on the upper floor there, and it just kind of sonic booms out the entire floor, right?
Yeah.
We needed something more like that to happen earlier. We needed a couple. I know they're trying to sprinkle on. Oh, he's just learning his stuff. He's trying to really get in there and stuff. We needed more of that early to get that. You're right. That kind of the Iron Fist, because ain't nobody scared of this cat.
Nah,
nobody cares.
There's no menace to him at all.
Because
of all 4 of these characters, he is the one with the legit power set that would make somebody go, "Oh man, we can't mess with that guy."
Right.
Let's walk away from him.
But everybody walks up to him just I guess it kind of works to a degree, but they all walk up to him like, "Oh, you ain't Jack, man. Of course we're gonna take you out." That shouldn't be, or at least, and it feels like they were trying to build to that, but they didn't build to it fast enough. Maybe we should have been there around halfway through to where people are like, "Oh no, he's really got this stuff. He's a little bit more formative." But I do like how they have old what's his face in there, Davos, who's who I'm sorry, I can't keep thinking of the guy in Doctor Who. But he's in there. I like him and how I like that relationship of he was kind of up to be Iron Fist too, but couldn't cut it, but really probably should have been the guy that got it. I thought that was an interesting take, and I liked how they kind of put that in there. And to give us more of a reluctant hero. But again, it feels like they should have done that a lot earlier in there. Much
earlier.
Had that worn out and everything. Him come back and early and just say hey, I followed you back. You've got to come back with me. We can't do this anymore. I was going to be this guy, but I'm taking responsibility. You got to get your butt back there. And then by the halfway point, have him really kind of establish his power, and then have the other people be afraid. Then have somebody who's a little bit that gives him that challenge, and then finish up there. And then I guess you're right. Go along the Ward Beecham style and just be like, "Oh, I really want to take this guy out, but how can I? Because he was a friend. He treated me like crap, but I got to be the bigger man. Yada yada yada."
Yeah, exactly.
That feels like that would have been better.
That is a far more interesting story.
Yeah. Call us up, Netflix.
So let's get to the end stinger here,
okay.
Right? Did that get you? Were you like, wow, I can't believe it?
I don't know if it was a wow, can't believe it. I was just like, I felt like it was a good way. I felt like it ended well, more or less. Without having to really tease into what we would get with the Defenders, it felt well enough.
For me, the only time we'd seen, because I don't know why you wouldn't know this if you're listening to this, but yes, Kunlun is gone from where it's supposed to be, and all we've seen of it. The only moments we've seen of Kunlun is when he's being beaten. Danny Rand is being beaten throughout the entire 13 episodes of this show by those monks to toughen him up and make him stronger. So we have no connection to Kunlun.
It doesn't hit
at all. Like at all.
But it's not surprising.
The closest we got to it was when Gao was saying how great it is. Mm-hmm. That's it.
But I will say this, because we didn't really touch on her that much, but I did like Gal throughout this entire thing, and I think that's one of the things that kind of like made these last like 5-6 episodes better than the first. Is that it had a lot of twists and turns, had a lot of who do you trust kind of thing, Right. And I thought that was really good to be like, oh, guess what? Wing, she's part of the hand, but no, she's part of the good hand. This is the bad hand, and it's like, who do you trust? And again, I feel like at the end of the day, it still feels like this could have been 8 episodes and been really, really great.
Agreed. Totally agree. I think that they have to stop going on the 13 episode.
Or just write better stuff. You know what I mean? Well, if you're going to do 13, by God, fill that 13. If you have 8
episodes worth of material, don't try to bring it out to 13.
That's
ridiculous.
Exactly. So that's my point. If you got 13, fill those 13 properly. But if you don't have a full 13 to fill, go 8. Nobody's going to be like, oh, crap, dude. They gave us 8 great episodes. I wish they would have given us 4 more mediocre ones. No one has ever said that. Doesn't exist.
Does not exist.
But I thought that was great. I liked Gal. I thought she became like more of a kind of fleshed out character for this. And I love how she does it. She's not afraid of anything. She just sits in her little hotel room there and just goes, what are you gonna do? I love the sodium pentothal scene and everything, where it's just like, you think that I didn't just do that for your own little entertainment? Of course I did.
Yeah. And we learned that she's been alive since at least the 1700s.
Awesome.
Pretty great. So let's get to this part. What are your favorite things about Iron Fist? Because I feel like I've been just slamming it the entire time. I will tell you first, because I'm kind of springing this on you, what my favorite things about the show are. Rosario Dawson is yet again a gleaming beacon in the Netflix universe.
She's a magnificent glue that holds it all together.
Yes, she is amazing. She's been great on every single one of these episodes. She's been terrific. I like her. I like Gao. That's what made me think of this question. Is that Gao is great. She's a great bad guy, and I really like Ward Meacham. I really, really like that character, and they cut him off at the knees by making his dad the big bad. They should never have done that.
Well, they always got season 2 to rewrite their stuff. I think I'd agree with those statements. I think those are really good. It's tough because it feels like I said, there's a good show in here. It feels like they didn't have enough of the proper prep time and everything to go with this. It feels like they kind of have done with all of this stuff. Once we got past, once we got into Jessica Jones, really going into Luke Cage, it feels like all of a sudden they were going in high speed and they were like, we can't stop this train. It's going. Yeah. It's going, and there's nothing we can do about it. Get on board now and not have to worry about really kind of just crafting the best thing that you possibly can, story-wise, fight-wise, and everything, and really get people time, because they put off casting, the casting of Iron Fist for way too long. They kept trying to find the right person to do it. And while I think Finn Jones is fine, you can't put a guy who's supposed to be a martial arts master on the screen without actually having that kind of skill. And if he's not going to have that kind of skill, for the love of all that's holy, put a mask on his face and put another cat in there.
Agreed.
It's such an easy fix, dude. And now half the other time it's all in black, so it's just like, again, put in a better stunt dude. And if you did, and like that's what you got out of it, you need more. You either A, need more time, or B, fire your people. But here's the thing, man. I've done the deep dive on this. It's pretty much all the same people. And that's what kind of kills me. That just tells me they didn't have time. When you have the same stunt people and everything and the same fight people from all this stuff, it tells me they just didn't have enough time to do anything. And that's, to me, that's where the real crime of all this is that it feels like they just didn't take their time enough. And if they started on like a season 2 or whatever, however they're going to do this, do that now. Let him get his reps in, let him get the fights down right and choreograph that out correctly, and just figure out what you want to do, because you've done it so well before. Stop running. Slow down.
Or make Iron Fist a new guy, because that it's a power set. It's not a person.
True.
You could do that too. That would make it better for sure.
I think they're in for a penny in for a pound at this point, but that's,
I think so too.
Sadly, I don't think that'll go any other direction. All right. Now, before we get to our final reviews here and everything, we have to ask ourselves the important question: how does this TV series relate back to our good friend Sylvester Stallone?
Thanks, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Oh.
I don't usually like to turn the Stallone connection into a monument of my ego, by which I mean that's what I always do, and this week will be absolutely no exception. If you, dear listener, knew the sheer amount of research I had to do to bring you this week's Stallone connection, you would shake your head in disbelief and quietly think to yourself, why, Sean? Why do you do this? My answer is this: nothing is more important to me than your entertainment. Nothing. My children, my girlfriend who's way too good for me, my 20-year career in film and television, my tenuous relationship with the people who manage Sylvester Stallone's career, nothing. Your entertainment needs are like a really cute baby to me. And that baby needs nurturing and love, and occasionally have a thinly veiled dirty joke spoken to him or her. With this huge preamble, I'm glad to present to you stuntman Hans Marrero.
Ooh.
Hans Marrero, after no less than 4 hours of searching for someone. Seriously, 4 hours. When Hans Marrero showed up, the sense of relief I experienced I've only found one other time, when my friend Andy Cox and I went to Florida as kids to see who could go the longest without pooping. In the middle of the 4th day, I couldn't hold it in any longer, and Andy came out the victor. At least that's the way I remember it. My memory has turned into an unreliable narrator, to be honest with you. Anyway, Hans Marrero is a stuntman that's been working since 2010, when he applied his services to the underrated TV show Terriers, where he performed stunts and played the role of illegal number 2. He would move on to other projects like G.I. Joe Retaliation, Tom Hardy's Warrior, and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And 2 of those 3 movies are awesome. Some of you may be asking yourselves, is Hans Marrero any good at his job as a stuntman? Well, I'm glad you asked, imaginary audience member, because Dude Bro has 16 projects coming up. 16!
Jeez.
I work all the time, and I only have 3 projects coming up. He also works on a lot of Marvel projects, working on Netflix Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Captain America Civil War, and Luke Cage. All projects that are vastly superior to Iron Fist. And then 2 years ago, Hans Marrero got the call we've all waited for. The call to work on a movie called Creed, starring the movie star I will be forever linked to, and I'm okay with that, Sylvester Stallone. Now, there's some interesting facts about Creed that I need to bring up here, like the fact that Stallone was 69 when they shot Creed, which is the same age Burgess Meredith was when they shot the original Rocky. Stallone had to break up an actual fight between 2 other boxers on set. And star Michael B. Jordan gained 24 pounds of muscle by working out 2 or 3 times a day, 6 days a week, adhered to a strict diet for almost a year, and since he didn't have a body double, he had to learn how to box in preparation for his role. Now, see? That's what Iron Fist is missing.
This is true.
And remember earlier when I said that Hans Marrero has 16 projects coming up? One of those projects is Escape Plan 2, starring Sylvester Stallone. So there you have it, nice nurse. This week's Stallone connection. Now let's review the second half of Iron Fist so I can go back to hanging out in the mountains and not worrying why Iron Fist isn't so very good.
All right, so let's get down to it here on Hero Movie Podcast. We have our patented Robin rating system. If you're not sure how that works, head on down to facebook.com/Hero Movie Podcast, and it's right there on the front page, man. And they give you the whole layout of how everything works. And while you're there, why not throw us a like? We're almost up to 2,000 likes over there, so make that happen, people.
Come on, give Adam 2,000 likes. He checks it every day.
I want to be liked. It's sad but true. All right, so I will start here because I think mine's going to be probably a little bit nicer.
Sure.
I honestly kept kind of going back and forth. Like I wasn't in love with this like I love the other things. Even with Luke Cage in the second half, where a lot of people tended to drop off, I was still on. I was still on with that craziness there. This, like I said, it had me on a roller coaster. There were times I was up. There were times where I'm like, okay, let's move on. And I've said it once. I've said it 5 times at least. This should be an 8-episode series, not a 13. That being said, there's enough in here that's okay, despite all of its shortcomings. And Lord knows there's a lot. For me, this is just a very tentative Damian Wayne. It's right there in the middle. It's serviceable, but is just really not up to par when you compare the other, 3 seasons that are out there from everything else. 4 seasons, technically, I guess. But it's just not the same, man. And it feels like, they just could have put it in the oven for a little while longer and maybe gotten something worth out of it instead of giving us something that just feels like it's a little undercooked. What do you got?
Those are all good points. I'm giving this show a Stephanie Brown. It's not the worst thing we've ever seen, but it's also not very good. Yeah. It's like I said at the first half of this series. It's fine. It's okay. It's not great. It is a little embarrassing. It is not something that I would show people where I go, you want to get into comic book movie properties? Let me show you this. This is definitely not something I would ever show someone. So it is a Stephanie Brown for me.
I can't say that I blame you there. It's like I said, mine was just tentative, so it's just barely there. But we got the Defenders to look forward to. Maybe he integrates into a team better. Who's to say? Maybe it's one of those things, and But we got more stuff coming, man. They've already, I don't know if they've started officially shooting yet, but they're just, if not, they're just about to start shooting the next season of Daredevil, and Jessica Jones season 2's already got a green light. So they're about to start rolling on that, not too awful long. So
and I'm excited to see those things.
The Netflix world ain't stopping, kids, so be that as it may. All right, so next week, Bruce Leslie will be back. Do not worry. But we are, and he may have wanted to have missed next week, but he's going to be back for next week because we're going to be talking about Legion. That's right. Speaking of a show that went 8 episodes, see Netflix, it can be done. Legion on FX that went 8 episodes. We reviewed the first 2 episodes a couple weeks back. If you want to check the archives for that, but we're going to round out season 1 here, tell people what we thought and everything, and get on down to it. And the week after that, of course, will be our Patreon voting stuff coming in there as well. So looking good for that. Also, in the meantime, Sean, where can we find more of your work on the internet this week, sir?
Why don't you look me up on the Twitter? That's Hero Movie Sean at Hero Movie Sean.
And, of course, Bruce Leslie, why don't you follow him on the Chubby Wizards there on the Heroes and Villains podcast and get that book there, Dragging in the Needles, available on iTunes. Well, don't do it on the iTunes. You'll pay too much over there. Do it on Audible if you want to do the audio book, or it's on Amazon proper there if you're a regular book reading type of person. So, head that up, people. And, of course, my other show, hopefully The Film Find and Nerd Talk Now will be back. I've started a new job, so I had to have it's been a weird kind of transition thing. I may be retooling Nerd Talk Now a little bit, but I think it might be more enjoyable and maybe a little bit more bite-sized and grabbable for everybody else as well. So keep on the lookout for that and all that kind of good jazz. And that is it, everybody. So thank you guys so much for joining us this week yet again. For the absent Bruce Leslie, Sean Keenan, I'm Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.